Uh-oh. Shawn Porter makes a comment about Jaron Boots Ennis. Jaron Boots Ennis comes back and responds, and basically challenges Shawn Porter if he wants to come out of retirement. Stay tuned to this video. We're going to get into all of that. You don't want to miss this one. We unpacked. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. We unpack 2022. Y'all know what to do. Subscribe. And I'm going to try to give you guys the full story for the latest and greatest in boxing. Y'all know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Jaron Boots Ennis clapped back at Shawn Porter. I don't know how Shawn Porter meant it, but I'll try to give you guys the chronological order of what happened. Now, to do that, I'm going to take it back to Thurman versus Barrios, because I think that is a good starting point and maybe what brought up this. Shawn Porter made some comments after the Thurman Barrios fight on his own podcast, but I think this is what started it. So this is a graphic that they showed on screen for the Thurman Barrios fight, which was a welterweight fight, of course. And Joe Goosen came out with his top 10 welterweight list. You know, welterweight's a stacked division. He said Errol Spence is number 1. He put Terence Crawford at number 2, and he put Jaron Boots Ennis at number 3. Now, on the telecast, I don't recall Shawn Porter having too much to say, but I do remember Kate Abdo. She was like, come on, Joe, really? You know, I'm just paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact words, but Kate Abdo basically said something to the effect of like, how are we putting Jaron Ennis so high at number 3 above guys like Ugas or even a Keith Thurman? And basically, it sounded like Kate didn't understand that logic. But Joe Goosen, being a consummate professional, I really liked how he broke it down. And one thing that Shawn Porter and Kate Abdo, who was kind of leading in the segment, don't have that Joe Goosen had in making the assessment is experience in the corner opposite of Jaron Boots Ennis. So Goosen, the reason why he probably put, you know, I can't speak for him. I'm not him. But from my perspective, the reason why he rates Jaron Ennis so highly is because he had a fighter in Sergey Lipinets who was competing against him. So sometimes when you go in the heat of the battle and you see how good, when you're, you know, staring from the other corner, you get to see how good somebody is. So I wasn't mad at Jaron Ennis being ranked high. In fact, you know, it's just a matter of show and prove and, you know, keep doing what he's doing. But I personally rank Jaron Ennis highly well, you know, as well. But it to me, I also don't, this is Joe Goosen's opinion. You know what I'm saying? And again, I just gave you the science. He probably felt this way because his fighter got whooped by Jaron Ennis and Sergey Lipinets, and he got to see firsthand how good. I remember after I covered the Terence Crawford Victor Postal fight, Victor Postal's trainer at the time was Freddie Roach. And I remember Freddie Roach, he was singing Crawford's praises. He's like, man, he's faster than we expected, whoop, 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 because it's a different processing when you're in that other corner and you're seeing what the fighter's doing to a guy you're in the gym with every single day, and you know what he brings to the table or what she brings to the table. So I wasn't mad at this. Another reason why I wasn't I don't believe in like nitpicking over, one, it's Goosen's opinion, but two, Ugas is fighting Errol Spence. We already knew that was coming, and it was officially announced. So Errol Spence is probably going to be the favorite over Ugas. So it's a matter of time before that belt, unless it ends in a draw like Charlo Castano, it's only a matter of time before that is solidified and we get an outcome. And if Errol Spence, who's the favorite, beats Ugas, then Ugas will probably drop a little bit anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really tripping off him. But Shawn Porter had a completely different top 10, and he said Crawford's number 1, Ugas number 2, Errol Spence 3, and Keith Thurman is number 4. And he, to his credit, Shawn Porter fought all 4 of these guys, but he didn't fight Jaron Ennis, right? So that's where we're at right now. So I think this is a great starting point. We're just talking about top 10s, and this was all because of the Keith Thurman Barrios fight. Keith Thurman returning, breaking a long dry spell. So I gave you guys the chronological order there. Smash the like button. So ultimately, we don't know. Jaron Ennis is saying he could beat Crawford, he could beat Errol Spence. It's just a matter of politics and continuing to work until you can show and prove, and then that's the ultimate say so, right? So no big deal here. But Shawn Porter took it a step further, and he actually, on his podcast after this Thurman Barrios fight weekend, on his podcast, he said that Jaron Ennis is overrated out of nowhere. Roll the clip.
No, you're right here.
I'm right here.
You're out of control.
Okay, all right, you're right there. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, it's
He's coming back.
Yep, there you go.
I got scared. I'm not gonna say it.
Oh, you got now. You have to now.
No.
I thought you said I got scared of boots.
So he said, if you heard right there, he said, I got scared. I'm not going to say it no more.
Yep, there you go.
I got scared. I'm not gonna say it.
Oh, you got now. You have to
Hell
now.
no.
I thought I'm not gonna lie to you.
no.
I thought for
Sit
a
up the
second you
camera
said
and
I got scared of boots, and I was like, oh, that's
Me
unbelievable.
too. I
mean,
was like,
true,
bro,
but
come on.
you don't
was
say
like,
that.
Hey, you gotta come back, and you know I don't even want you to come back.
Boots is overrated.
Whoa.
See, out of nowhere, this is Shawn Porter's podcast. He says Boots is overrated. I'm just telling y'all.
You don't say
Hey,
that.
you gotta come back, and you know I don't even want you to come back.
Boots is overrated.
Whoa. Second you said I got scared of boots, and I was like, oh, that's
Me
unbelievable.
too.
I mean,
was like,
true,
bro,
but
come on.
you don't
was like,
say
hey,
that.
You gotta come back, and you know I don't even want you to come back.
Boots is overrated.
Whoa. No, you don't want us to get carried away. You got to see something.
Boots is overrated.
Get the hell
Shawn.
out of town.
Whoa,
Shawn, you shut
Shawn.
your mouth too over there.
Shawn, man.
I think he's the most gifted
That was
fighter
bullshit.
in boxing, but when he's getting caught clean. Even DeLorean, when we tagged, he's not getting caught here with the shit. He's getting caught on the button, and that is a problem. But I wonder if he was moving in for the kill when he got hit with that, but he might either he's gonna have a Philly chin that's so good.
I can tell you hot. I'm hot. I said it.
I'm shocked I'm shocked those words came out of your mouth.
That's
I know
crazy.
you are. But listen, Boots is overrated, and this is why I say he's
That's
overrated.
crazy.
Everybody is so hyped up on him, but he hasn't been in the ring with any world champions yet.
Well, they
That's
don't
how
want
it
to fight
goes,
him.
Sean.
But,
Huh?
That's how it goes. They got hyped about you guys before you got.
True.
That's boxing.
But I feel like
That's how you build your fighter.
and don't forget that I'm the one that said that, or one of the ones that said this dude is the closest thing we got to Roy Jones. I've said that. I'm on record. I believe that, but at the
How
same
is he not
time,
overrated?
because every name that you throw out and Boots is smashing, Boots is smashing.
Right.
Damn, like let the fight happen and say Boots smashed them, or man, that was a great fight. Boots did well. But don't blatantly Boots will smash everybody in the 147 pound
Boots is
division.
basically what Errol Spence was. Earl was gonna smash you. He's gonna smash everybody.
I wasn't listening to that. I wouldn't have it.
There you have it. So Shawn Porter said what he said. He said Boots is overrated, point blank, period. Now, I personally don't understand where that came from. And I thought that was a bit out of character for Shawn Porter, because I distinctly remember Shawn Porter was saying something to the effect, and I'm just going to paraphrase, but Shawn Porter basically said something to the effect of, I wouldn't want to fight Jaron Boots Ennis unless I had to. And this is right before he announced his retirement. You know, he said that Boots was, a problem and he wouldn't even want to fight him. That fight probably won't happen because, it's a dangerous fight and it doesn't make sense. So to hear him go from that to Boots is overrated, I'm just going to say it. It's just like, huh? Needless to say, Jaron Boots Ennis heard these complaints, I guess you could say, these overrated, this crown that Shawn Porter is trying to get Boots to wear now, and Boots has since responded. We're going to talk about that. You did. So Boots, this is what he had to say, you guys. I heard you, Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter, I heard you said I was overrated. You was just saying I'm ready and I'm too much for these guys. LOL. And you said you won't fight me, but keep that same energy though. If I'm so overrated, come out of retirement and fight me. Now people retire and I'm overrated. Said Boots Ennis. End quote. Oh man. Oh man, not again. Crazy. So Boots, he clearly took offense to, you know, what Shawn Porter was saying, and rightfully so. I personally thought the comment was kind of weird from Shawn Porter. It's like, where did that even come from? Where did that energy come from? Previously, like, was this all spawned, as I mentioned, from the Kate Abdo and Joe Goosen, you know, different lists that they had, and Joe Goosen felt the need to put Jaron Ennis? Because if you listen to the clip, and I'll put the link in the description, he's basically saying that no matter who Boots, people say Boots will smash that person. But the reality is he very well might smash whoever. I mean, that's the cold part about it. I mean, because to me, look at how big he is. Like, he looked like he a middleweight or something. Like, he looked huge. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, he got skills. So, and he comes from a fight town that's known for warriors. You know, think Gabe Rosado, you know, Danny Garcia, Bernard Hopkins, Kawhi. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of Philly fighters. So it remains to be seen. And realistically, Shawn Porter, I felt, on top of the comments being kind of random, that he just out of all people in boxing, that's who you called out as overrated. After I know for a fact that Shawn Porter has praised Jaron Ennis at times. The other thing that was weird about that is, you know, the timing. The timing's weird. You retired, like Jaron Boots Ennis is saying, and then now you're saying he's, you know, basically sorry, or he's not what people say he is. And you know, that just, I thought that was, I don't know. To each his own. Shawn Porter's a grown man. He can say whatever he feels, but I just thought it was kind of weird. And I don't know if it was, see, and this is the thing with a bunch of podcasts and boxing Twitter, and everybody wants to do what I do and talk boxing and monetize it and things like that. But boxing is becoming real opinionated, and it's seemingly out of nowhere. Like, I for one, I feel Jaron Ennis, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. You know, I'm not mad at Brandon Lee and Jaron Ennis and stuff. They're doing what they need to be doing. They're young fighters. They're building on their way up. And I think Shawn Porter, definitely, he's been in the game and he knows the business. So he should know certain things. Like, he's saying, oh, he ain't fought a real champion yet. But at the same time, every welterweight that's good, that's dangerous, has went through this, you know? And I think Shawn Porter has to know that. Like, I remember when Keith Thurman, he was 17-0. This is a true story. You guys don't have to take my word for it. Research it. But when Keith Thurman, he was about 17-0, 18-0, they wanted to match him with Marcos Maidana. But Marcos Maidana's team pulled out of the fight. And a lot of people don't know that. But they pulled out of the fight because they're like, hold on, who's this kid? He like 18-0, 17-0 with like 17 knockouts. And they just felt like, what's the point of fighting a Keith Thurman? You know, we're trying to get the Broners and the Floyd Mayweathers, which he eventually got, you know. But at the same time, Keith Thurman represented a lot of danger, and he was knocking everybody out at the time. That's hence the name One Time. Errol Spence went through this. He was calling out Kell Brook. Remember, Kell Brook was saying that Errol Spence is the new Jeff Lacy 2.0. And he was saying that Errol Spence, a lot of you Americans are overrating him. So Errol Spence, he had to fight the Bundus and lean Chris Algieri, and fight the Barreras and just different people like that in order to work his way through the ranks to the point where he very well had Kell Brook cornered and went the IBF route, and Kell Brook had no choice but to see him. And even after the Gennady, hell no, guys, and Max, big drama, everybody, not the punch, right? Even after the loss to Golovkin, when he had a choice to defend the belt or vacate the belt. And he would have looked extremely bad if he didn't fight Errol Spence. And he knew that, so he decided to fight him. And that's why he took 2 back-to-back losses to hell no, guys, Max, to Golovkin at middleweight, and then Errol at welterweight. So this is the journey for everybody, right? So Jaron Ennis, I mean, why are we picking on him? Out of all things wrong in boxing, he's really just doing what he's supposed to be doing. You dig? And he's like, I mean, he's not like overly brash. He just seemed like a good dude, and he's whooping people. So out of all people for a podcast, you know, like, you know, thousands of people watching or whatever your audience retention is, to put that spotlight on Jaron Boots Ennis as if he's the main, you know, culprit or problem with boxing by saying he's overrated. I just thought that was a bit much. But again, to each his own. Now Jaron Ennis seen the comments and he's like, you fight me then if I'm ain't this and that. And we know that's probably not going to happen because Shawn Porter just came out and said he had arthritis in his hips. And doctors said he only had about a year or 2 to really give it his all. So it's not likely that Shawn Porter would unretire to come out to fight Jaron Ennis. So it's just kind of like, what's the baseline? What's the basis of this comment, especially when this is the same guy that you even gave props to and said, oh, you can't see yourself fighting him unless, you know, he was the last option or something because he's a beast. And then now you're coming out like as if he's the most overrated. The other thing that I think is something to note is how come when it comes to black fighters, namely black American fighters, that it's so easy to dish out and dunk on them and, you know, just be uncut, unfiltered and go in, you know what I mean? Go in on them. So out of all fighters in boxing, like it's not fashionable to do this to other people. Like, for example, Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin, he never gets this type of backlash or praise or, you know what I'm saying, or fails to get praise. Like I never see high profile boxers say Golovkin is overrated, but you could really make an argument that Gennady Golovkin really was overrated, because if you look at Golovkin's whole career, his biggest names that he's fought, Canelo. Okay, first fight was a draw. I thought he won the first fight, but it was still close. Second fight, Canelo came back and beat you. Then the Derenchenko whooped him, and we know that was politics. Jacobs, I thought, also beat him. So if you look at it, those are like the biggest names Golovkin's ever fought, and all of those names didn't look like the other fights he was fighting. So you could really make a solid argument that Gennady Golovkin is overrated, or even guys like Lomachenko. But I noticed it seems so convenient and easy to go in on black fighters. Like, you know, old media does this all the time, where it's like, oh, Jaron Ennis is overrated. The other reason why I don't feel a fighter, especially a black fighter like Jaron Ennis, is overrated, and the reason I say black is because who's overrating him? You know what I mean? Like for the most part, from what I've seen, the hood, the culture, they're messing with Jaron Boots Ennis. But you look at big box old media, they're not praising Jaron Ennis. Like you don't see a lot of people you don't see ESPN ranting and raving about Jaron Ennis. You don't see big box and old media talking about Ennis is the future and he'll beat. You know, you can go right now and some people will say Virgil Ortiz will beat him or Jaron Ennis is fighting bums. Just go on Twitter and stuff. So to come out and say he's overrated, he looked like Floyd right there. Easy work. I ain't got to worry about it. He looked like a ripped Floyd. But anywho, back to my point is who's overrating him? Because the only people like I see the culture is embracing Jaron Ennis. You know what I mean? He's swaggy, you know, he got drip and he can fight, you know, so that's that. But I haven't really seen mainstream media get behind Jaron Ennis and uplift him and say he's the guy to beat and praise him. So again, this is what I'm talking about. When it comes to old media, they literally force fed you guys like Lomachenko and Triple G. and made it sound like they were doing incredible things that no one has ever done. Lomachenko has never, I repeat, and I want to make this very clear. Lomachenko has never done anything that I've seen Roy Jones. He's never done anything that I haven't seen Roy Jones do. Nothing he has seen has impressed me more than the most impressive things that I've seen Roy Jones do. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of it. But I don't see, like, why does Shawn Porter, he doesn't feel Lomachenko's overrated, or NOA, or anybody else? It's just Jaron Ennis. You know what I mean? Because that's why I said it's kind of out of character. And if we're really playing the overrated game, I can start naming a bunch of people that are overrated. And the thing, I don't know, maybe this is subjective and maybe everyone's thought process is different. But for me, I would never say Jaron Ennis is overrated, because again, it begs the question, who is overrating him? He's not getting support from old media, right? Versus guys like NOA. NOA is, I've seen him ranked number 1 and ranked number 2 and on people's pound for pound list, right? And most of the guys that he's fought, you don't know. And a faded Donaire, Nonito Donaire, broke his jaw and his nose in that particular fight. And that was a very tough fight. Very tough fight. But people rate NOA, and I like NOA. I think NOA is a beast. I think he's dope. But I'm just saying, if we're going to play the game and like laundry list it, how does Jaron Ennis end up in the category of overrated? Who's overrating him? The only person, Joe Goosen, I already explained that at the beginning of this video. Joe Goosen said what he said and gave his commentary of where he places Jaron Ennis, but rightfully so. He has firsthand experience with his fighter getting his ass whooped by Jaron Ennis, and that was Sergey Lipinets. So that's not uncommon in the world of boxing for somebody to share the ring with somebody and then get a newfound respect for him. You know what I mean? And like, you respect a gangster because it's like, man, I've been in the ring, or I sparred this person, I know they real. You know what I mean? So kudos to Joe Goosen, if anything, that he can separate his emotion and give credit where credit's due to a young strapping stud in the boxing game, despite his fighter being knocked out by him, right? We need more of that. But when it comes to what Shawn Porter said, I truly think we need less of that, because again, what's the basis of it? Shawn Porter's not going to fight Jaron Ennis. He's retired. What did you hope to gain? Like views for the podcast or what? Like, you know what I'm saying? What was the gain? Look at it. What was the gain here? And then again, Shawn Porter, he did say something like, Jaron Ennis ain't fought a champion, but what champion? It just doesn't, that comment really doesn't resonate with me, because it doesn't make sense. Errol Spence is fighting Ugas for a 3rd belt. There's only 3 people with belts right now. Errol Spence is fighting Ugas. How can I get mad at Errol Spence for fighting Ugas for a 3rd belt? Of course, he's not going to fight Jaron Ennis when he could fight at home at AT&T Stadium against a belted guy coming off a Pacquiao performance. So the only other avenue at the welterweight division to get a belt would be to fight Terence Crawford. And Lord knows what he's even doing as his next move. And he's suing Bob Arum and Top Rank. We don't know who he's signed to. We don't know what his next move is. We don't know when his next fight is. So there's not even, to make that statement, you have to understand and factor in the whole landscape of boxing. There's only 3 guys you can fight at welterweight to get a belt. So to hold that against Jaron Ennis doesn't really make sense, because again, Errol Spence is not going to forego fighting Ugas for a belt, and the Ugas is off a game-changing, career-changing trajectory and performance over Manny Pacquiao. And then Crawford was tied up with Top Rank, not getting big fights. So what champion could Jaron Ennis have fought? I mean, former champion Keith Thurman just broke a dry spell, and he's been out the ring for 3 years. So that's not Jaron Ennis's fault. Keith Thurman said he will fight Jaron Ennis, but he wants to fight champions first. So again, Jaron Ennis, how can he prove himself in that capacity if that's the case? As far as Danny Garcia, that's another former champion, but they're both from Philly, and I believe they're friends. And I think Danny Garcia knew Jaron Ennis since he was a lot younger, since he was like a younger kid. You know what I'm saying? So that's not practical. They're not gonna fight each other. You know what I mean? They're both from Philly, and they got that connection. And this is someone Danny Garcia knew, and Danny Garcia is coming off a loss anyway, and he don't have a belt now anyway. So that wouldn't be a current champion. Plus, again, the Philly connection. They're cool with each other, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it seems like a silly thing to hold Jaron Ennis. The talent is clearly there. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's whooping guys, and he's taking names, you know? And I truly want to see more of him. So, I can't really speak for Shawn Porter. I don't know what irked him to make those comments, but, I thought that was kind of wrong to do to Jaron Ennis, because he's doing everything that we want to see. He's been stepping up the level of opposition, fighting Delorme's. That's a guy Crawford fought a couple years ago. Guy Ugas fought a couple years ago in Delorme. He fought Lipinets, a guy Mikey Garcia fought, right? A guy who beat Lamont Peterson. I mean, what more do we want of him? So I really understand Boots' frustration, because it's like, it's kind of like a drive-by comment. You're like, oh, he's overrated, and you were in that weight class just a couple months ago, and then now you're not trying to fight him. You're not going to fight him. So it's just like, what? I don't know. I just don't understand what that comment was made for. And I thought it was an insult to Jaron Ennis and what he's doing. And I don't think that Jaron Ennis is, I don't think he's doing anything wrong. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And to say, oh man, why are people hyping him up? He ain't beat a champion. What champion could he fight? There's only 3 of them. You know what I mean? So, and I just went through every single champion in the welterweight division. And Jaron Ennis is unfortunately in a situation he has to just keep showing improving, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, because guys aren't going to, they worked for their brand. They're not going to lose their positioning fighting some renegade, young gun, hot shot, big power punching, explosive welterweight, right? And then lose out on fights that might be more ready-made. Like Keith Thurman, he just beat Barrios. He might mess around and get the winner of Errol Spence versus Ugas, or another big fight. So you think he's going to get out the queue to fight Jaron Ennis? It's not likely. So again, Ennis is going to have to go the same route as Keith Thurman, the same route as Errol Spence, and everybody else, the hard way. Keep showing improving, keep stepping it up, and then keep knocking down doors. And you do that enough times, eventually somebody's going to get tired. They can't go to sleep. They got to wake up in the morning, and you banging on the front door. They're going to have to get up and answer the front door. So that's the nature of boxing. So I don't know. I can't say jealousy, but it just seemed off-putting that Shawn Porter would come for Jaron like that. And here's the other thing is, like, if we're really opening the floodgate in the conversation, Virgil Ortiz, I like him too, but he's fighting a guy with no power in Michael McKinnison, right? Conor Benn is fighting guys that Danny Garcia knocked out, Adrian Granados and Chris Algieri, a guy Errol Spence knocked out. But it's so easy to call a Black American fighter overrated, as I mentioned earlier in this video, and, shoot darts at him. And I just feel like I really, truly try to put things into perspective when I kick these ballistics when it comes to boxing. And I just feel like Jaron Ennis is the least of boxing's problems, I can assure you. There's so many other guys. If we're really talking about who's rated too highly and overrated, there are a lot of other guys that I think should definitely probably be mentioned before Jaron Ennis gets mentioned as, not being the dude, especially when you gave him props before and you haven't fought him or probably sparred him to maybe know how good he is. So I thought the comments seemed a bit off from Shawn Porter. And again, the guy can only fight at the pace that boxing will allow. And that's the reality. People aren't, when you're dangerous like that, people aren't going to be chomping at the bit to stop everything they're doing to hear you out, because you have everything to gain and very little to lose. They have a lot to lose because they have whole brands that they've been building for a lot longer. And that's why David Benavidez, who's in this picture, is having problems, because Canelo, he's like, oh, I'm making these $40 million paydays. David Benavidez is young, hungry, determined, power punching, volume punching, and he's fierce. So it's like, if you get in the ring with him, you better be ready to try to really beat him. That's why you see this. So it's like, we know these things. We know how boxing works, and we know what position that Jaron Ennis is in. So, you know, I didn't agree with the comments at all from Shawn Porter. I don't think he's overrated. Again, you would have to look at the terminology that you're using. Who's overrating him? Who's overrating him? You know what I mean? Because it's for sure it's not old media and mainstream media. You don't hear them talking about him because a lot of them don't even like black fighters, you know? So who's overrating him? I think people are just hyped because they see the potential. Again, the potential we'll have to see as his journey continues, but for that to happen, he just has to keep knocking down doors before the right one opens up. You know, and it could have just been that, but for whatever reason, Shawn Porter, you know, created this, I guess, tension or topic that really didn't need to exist. And that's the thing. That's the danger with like boxing and boxing talk and podcasts. Everybody's opinionated. Everybody got an opinion. Everybody, you know, and to me, I felt like there was no reason to even mess with Jaron Ennis. You know what I'm saying? In that regard, you're retired. He's doing his thing. You know what I mean? He can only fight who he can fight. I just don't get it. So if you guys have a better understanding, or you agree with Shawn Porter and think that Jaron Ennis is, quote, overrated, I think Joe Goosen, the reason he even said what he said, I told you from the beginning, his fighter fought him and he got to see the talent level of Jaron Ennis. So he has something that not me, not Porter, not Kate Abdo, not Keith Thurman, or whoever else doesn't have, and that's experience fighting the man, or, you know, fighting against him, like coming up with a game plan to try to thwart him, you know, and that's what it is. So interesting. I don't really see this going anywhere because Shawn Porter's retired. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's not like he's going to unretire to prove a point. I mean, that'd be the first time that I can recall where someone unretired over a tweet and trash talk or, you know, whatever. So I thought Shawn Porter missed the mark with his comments here. And I don't see anything overrated about Jaron Ennis. I think people are just ultimately excited because they see the potential. You know, I've even said that I see elements of Roy Jones in him, you know, and Roy Jones is my favorite fighter. So I would never just loosely say that. But I think people are just hyped. And it's like Shawn Porter kind of try to rain on the parade and slow people down, but it's not going to stop. If you're a fan of Jaron Ennis, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, you're going to continue to be such. So kind of weirdly timed comments. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know how I did in this video. We unpacked. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.